There are some gamers that take gaming incredibly seriously, even to the point of burnout or, in some crazy cases, death. They can be incredibly addictive, but of course fun. However, some people have claimed that games in particular harbor secrets and even curses, but surely not, right? Cue the dramatic music, folks. Today we're discussing the most cursed video games of all time, so stay with us. First up, it's Madden NFL. Madden is, of course, one of the best-selling games in EA's long and storied history, but some gamers and even NFL players have claimed the game is completely cursed. Having decided to innovate and make the game a little more attractive to fans, they decided to include a new feature that allowed online plays in 2003, which, as we know, allowed fans to play against any other user. However, an unusual twist meant that players who were featured on the game's cover usually went on to get injured. From the moment Garrison Hurst broke his ankle not long after appearing on the game's 1999 installment, fans have claimed the game is, in fact, cursed. In the first 16 players featured on the cover, no fewer than 14 went on to sustain serious injuries not long after. Of course, it hasn't affected every player who's appeared on the cover. That would just be too much, knock on wood. And having appeared on the cover of Madden NFL 20, Patrick Mahomes appeared to have bypassed the curse. Instead, he just went on to have a pretty poor 2021-22 season. Is there anything in this? What do you guys think? Next, it's Polybius. Stay with us. Back in the 1980s, arcade games were at the height of their popularity, and the 1981 game, Polybius, apparently includes a pretty hard-to-believe government conspiracy. If you believe the conspiracy theorists, the game is part of a government-run psychology experiment that monitors reactions to psychoactive effects and addiction on gamers. The game was created by the Sinelslotchen company and was placed in many arcades across the USA. But some gamers claimed to have seen men in black suits regularly visit the arcades to change options, reportedly to make it more addictive. It was also suggested that the government had something to do with the hidden texts found within the game, which was thought to be an attempt to brainwash youngsters. Of course, this is pretty far-fetched, but as we know, not all conspiracy theories are completely devoid of truth. What do you guys make of this supposedly cursed game? Did you ever play it? Let us know below. We're talking Berserk next. Stay tuned. Back in 1982, gaming was just in its infancy, but that didn't stop one gamer from overdoing it a little bit. One man, Jeff Daly, suffered a heart attack whilst playing the game, which went down as the first recorded gaming-related death in history. But gamers suspected something was afoot with the game. Daly had reported just gotten the game's highest score, which saw him rack up an incredible 16,660 points, but was then dead moments later. Of course, this could only mean the game was cursed. Well, maybe not. During his autopsy, Daly was found to have scarring of the heart tissue, which was the cause of the heart attack. This would have been a factor well before Daly started playing the game, so his death as a result of the game is just a coincidence, unfortunately for the conspiracy theorists. Have you guys ever played Berserk? Let us know what you thought about it below. Taboo, The Sixth Sense, is up next. Don't go anywhere. Taboo was a pretty creepy game released back in 1989. Developed by Rare, it was available on the NES and allowed gamers to get a tarot card reading. All you had to do was input your name and age, and the game would then provide you with a prediction, just like a normal reading at a tarot reader at a fairground, for example. Included in the cards were images of religious symbolism and naked images, and it even went on in some cases to predict the deaths of some younger gamers. When these deaths actually started to occur, the game was quickly removed from the market as Nintendo wasn't particularly interested in going through any lawsuits. Many players took the game and its warnings seriously, and the creators even went as far as to include a warning in its manual, which read, "We are not responsible for what may happen with Taboo, or any effect, influence, or miracle that may occur in relation to the game." One of the most controversial games ever. It will go down in creepy folklore for the rest of time. Did you or any of your older relatives ever play Taboo: The Sixth Sense? We're discussing Lair next. Lair was a game that featured on the newly released PS3 back in 2007, but it went through a ton of problems, not just during creation, but also also during launch. The game featured air battles between dragons and armies, which is actually pretty similar to Game of Thrones. The graphics were seen as groundbreaking when the game dropped, but the problems were therefore all involved with the game to see from day one. From the very first moment the game was released, there were issues. During the first release, there was a power outage which resulted in a lot of the game's data is lost. Add to that, many of the staff who'd worked on the game's development then suffered mental health issues, illness, and even death. Some family members were even affected, with some also dying. But the final nail in the coffin for the game and the creepy name it had developed was when the company behind its development went bankrupt in 2009. Spooky. What do you guys make of this one? Surely just a coincidence, right? Pokemon is next up. Stay tuned. There is no denying the fact that Pokemon is one of the most successful game franchises of all time. But upon its release in Japan in the summer of 1996, there were some who claimed that the game was completely cursed. The RPG-style game was super successful, but shortly after its launch, there was a noticeable uptick in suicides in Japan, particularly between the 6 to 12 years old demographic. Reportedly, there were as many as 107 suicides, which is obviously tragic, but there was also a common denominator: Pokemon. It has been claimed that every one of these suicides was children who were all addicted to the new Pokemon game, which must have harbored some sort of sinister curse. The music in the original Japanese version had some gamers suggest that there was something strange going on. When entering the Pokemon cemetery, you would be met by chilling music, which reportedly affected the children who played it quite seriously. Some symptoms included insomnia, nosebleeds, depression, and strangely for the age group, gambling addiction. Another strange revelation suggested that the young people who had killed themselves had kept the game in Pueblo Lavanda, the Pokemon cemetery. Did they think that by killing themselves they would have access to their favorite characters? Truly sad if so. Did you know about the Pokemon curse? Let us know below. A seriously creepy game now, stick around. Sad Satan is a game that can thankfully only be found in the deepest, darkest parts of the dark web, which means that in general, young children do not have access to it. The game involves walking down long corridors, and the user can find hidden messages, screenshots of threatening conversations, and even creepy audio all over the game. The game was initially only found on the dark web, but when one user found it and shared it on his YouTube channel, something creepy started happening. They noticed a blank screen with small black wings which would appear subliminally. So the Reddit user decided to investigate. When looking in the game's code, he found hidden messages such as "Murder, I can find and kill you," and "You are on my list." And if this wasn't scary enough, the end of the game comes with a chilling message which reads, "Suffering does not end." Following completion of the game, some players reported feelings of being watched, whilst others said they received anonymous threats. Super creepy. We would urge you to stay away from this one. Had you heard of it? And finally, E.T. the Extraterrestrial. Following the mass success of the 1982 Spielberg summer blockbuster E.T., an Atari game of the same name was rushed through. But the powers that be wanted to cash in on the game for the upcoming Christmas, giving its developers only 1 month or 2 to create it. Of course, with such a short amount of time, the game was an absolute flop, and as a result, did not sell well at all. And Atari was left with a huge surplus, which they decided to bury in the desert. However, it was thought that this was just a rumor until 2014, when a documentary team uncovered the huge gaming cache in Alamogordo, New Mexico. It was found that there were millions of copies of this game under the sand, which would have been more appropriate in the Spielberg film. As always, thanks for stopping by today, and remember to join us next time for some more fun revelations. Also, why not do us a solid by liking, sharing, and subscribing to our channel so you don't miss out on more great content. Bye.